The sound of hundreds of phones recording echoed through the hallway like a digital symphony of cruelty. A full trash can, brimming with leftover food, wet paper towels, and cafeteria waste, crashed down onto the young teacher from behind. Sour milk dripped through her neatly styled brown hair. Banana peels stuck to her navy blue blazer. The stench of rotting food filled the air like a toxic cloud. "Welcome to Westfield, Ms. Harper." Jordan Whitmore stood there, his winning smile plastered across his handsome face, while his crew erupted in laughter behind him. The petite teacher turned around slowly. Her mascara didn't run. Her lips didn't tremble. Only an eerie calm resided in her brown eyes. She looked directly at Jordan, and then she smiled. "Thank you, Jordan. What a memorable welcome." Her voice was soft, almost amused, while the packed hallway of students waited to see her cry, scream, or run away like the three teachers before her. Ms. Harper did something no one expected. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number, and began speaking in fluent French. The strangest part, she kept her eyes locked on Jordan while she spoke, and the young teacher's smile began to make the most powerful student in school step back. Evelyn Harper had arrived at Westfield Preparatory Academy 3 weeks ago, a private institution where $45,000 in annual tuition bought more than education. It bought immunity. The previous incidents had started small. Coffee accidentally spilled on her papers. Her car tires mysteriously deflated after parent-teacher conferences. But today's escalation in the main hallway, witnessed by over 200 students with dozens recording, marked a new level of hostility. Ms. Harper bent down, still speaking French into her phone, and began picking up pieces of trash with her free hand. "Oui, j'ai les documents, la famille Whitmore, exactement comme nous l'avions suspecté." Jordan's crew exchanged nervous glances. Brandon Torres, the basketball captain, nudged Derek Chen. "What's she saying?" Ashley Pemberton, the queen bee of the junior class, lowered her phone slightly. Harper switched to English briefly, just loud enough for them to hear. "No, I'm at school right now. Yes, the evidence is secure," as she reached for her purse to grab a tissue. The leather flap opened slightly, revealing what looked like an FBI badge before she quickly closed it. Jordan Whitmore stood 6 feet 2 inches tall, his athletic frame perfectly showcased in his varsity letterman jacket. His father, Mayor Robert Whitmore, had essentially built half of Westfield's new facilities, including a $2 million athletic center that bore the family name. This wasn't just a student-teacher conflict. This was about power, legacy, and the unspoken rules that governed elite institutions. "You think calling mommy in French makes you special?" Jordan stepped closer, using his height advantage to loom over Harper's 5'3" frame. "3 teachers before you, Harper. Want to know what happened to them?" She looked up at him, still maintaining that unsettling calm. "I already know. I've read their exit interviews." The crowd stirred. How could she have access to confidential exit interviews? Brandon laughed, trying to restore their intimidation factor. "Maybe she needs another shower. What do you think?" Derek had his phone out. Adding to his collection, he called Jordan's Greatest Hits, a compilation of their conquests over authority figures. Ashley smirked, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "She looks like a drowned rat. Should we call animal control?" Harper's trained eyes cataloged everything. The positions of security cameras, the names and faces of every participant, the recording devices, the witnesses, Her mind worked like a computer, filing away evidence with the precision of someone who had spent years in federal investigations. Principal Morrison chose that moment to appear, his footsteps echoing with false authority. "What's going on here?" He saw Harper covered in garbage, milk still dripping from her hair, and his response revealed everything about Westfield's power structure. "Ms. Harper, perhaps you should go clean up. Not a word about the assault, not a glance at Jordan, just dismissal of the victim." "Of course, Principal Morrison," Harper replied, her voice steady, "right after I file this incident report." Morrison's face tightened. "I wouldn't recommend making waves, Ms. Harper. The Whitmore family has been very generous to this school. That new athletic center didn't build itself." "How generous indeed," Harper smiled. "Public record. I assume all those donations properly documented." Something in her tone made Morrison pause. This wasn't the cowering response he expected. He'd seen 3 teachers broken by the Whitmore boy. Mrs. Chen driven to anxiety medication and medical leave. Mr. Rodriguez transferred after drug allegations that never quite stuck. Ms. Williams resigning after personal photos mysteriously circulated online. "Just handle this quietly," Morrison muttered before retreating. From the corner of the hallway, Mia Chen watched with clenched fists. Her mother had been the first casualty of Jordan's reign of terror. David Rodriguez secretly streamed everything to a private server. His own father's career destroyed by planted evidence. Emma Williams stood with tears in her eyes, remembering her mother's breakdown after the leaked photos. Harper noticed each one, filing their faces and reactions into her mental database. Allies often emerged from the ashes of previous battles, in the bathroom. Harper didn't immediately clean herself up. Instead, she carefully photographed her appearance from multiple angles. She pulled out small evidence bags from her purse, the kind crime scene investigators used, and began collecting samples of the garbage. A strand of hair with a follicle, a piece of paper that might have fingerprints, food waste that could contain DNA. She made another call, this time in English. "Yes, I need a full workup. DNA, fingerprints, the complete panel, chain of custody documentation." She paused. "No, this is for the Westfield case. The timeline is moving faster than anticipated." As she finally began cleaning the milk from her hair, Harper's mind drifted to 6 months ago when she'd first volunteered for this assignment. The FBI's white-collar crime division had been investigating educational fund embezzlement for 3 years. But they needed someone on the inside, someone who could access financial records, observe patterns, and build trust with victims. "You're overqualified," the principal had said during her interview, staring at her sparse resume. Yale Law School was mentioned but downplayed. Her 5 languages listed as a hobby rather than intelligence training. Her previous career simply stated as federal service. "I just want to teach," she had replied. "Make a difference in young lives." Morrison had hired her, probably thinking a young, idealistic teacher would be easy to control. He had no idea he'd just invited a wolf into his corrupt little sheep pen. Harper pulled out her specialized phone. To anyone watching, it looked like a normal smartphone. But this device featured military-grade encryption, chain of custody documentation protocols, and direct upload capabilities to secure legal databases. This prosecutor-grade technology could transform any physical evidence into court-admissible documentation within seconds, complete with timestamps, GPS coordinates, and biometric verification that no defense attorney could challenge. She ran another sample through the scanner, watching as it cataloged and uploaded the evidence. Back in her classroom, Harper found Jordan sitting at her desk, feet up on her papers. The rest of her sophomore English class sat in tense silence, unsure whether to laugh or hide. "How's the new perfume?" "Teach," Jordan grinned. "Eau de cafeteria, very chic." Harper set down her materials calmly. "Fascinating power dynamic demonstration. Jordan, class, let's use this as a learning opportunity. Today's impromptu lesson, How Hubris Destroys Dynasties." She walked to the whiteboard, still damp from her attempted cleanup, and began writing. Shakespeare understood that power corrupts. In Macbeth, we see how unchecked ambition and the belief in one's own invincibility leads to downfall. "You can't threaten me through Shakespeare." Jordan scoffed, but something in his voice wavered. "Threat." Harper turned, chalk in hand. "I'm teaching literature. Though, speaking of threats, how's your father's campaign going? Third-term aspirations require such clean records, don't they?" The classroom went silent. Even Jordan's crew looked uncomfortable. Nobody talked about Mayor Whitmore's political ambitions so boldly. "What do you know about my father?" Jordan's cockiness cracked slightly. Harper smiled. "Only what's public record. Campaign finance reports make for fascinating reading. Almost as interesting as school district allocation documents." She turned back to the board, writing a quote from Macbeth. "I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none." "Are you calling me less than a man?" Jordan stood, his face reddening. "I'm teaching Shakespeare. Any personal interpretation is your own projection." Harper's voice remained maddeningly calm. "Now, please return to your assigned seat so we can continue with today's lesson." Jordan stormed back to his seat. But Harper noticed him texting furiously. Planning the next escalation. No doubt. She'd pushed a button, and he would push back harder. That was the pattern with bullies. They escalated until they either broke their victim or exposed themselves. After class, Harper was organizing papers when her folder slipped from her hands as she bent to retrieve it. Several documents scattered across the floor. One bore an FBI letterhead, clearly visible, Re Westfield Financial Audit, Confidential. Jordan, who had lingered behind, scrambled to see more, but Harper quickly gathered the papers. "Sorry, confidential materials from my previous employment. Old habits of bringing work home." "Previous employment?" Jordan's eyes narrowed. "What kind of federal employee becomes a high school teacher?" "One who believes in education," Harper replied simply. "One who thinks every student deserves honest leadership." The implied accusation hung in the air. Jordan's phone buzzed. A text from his father. His face went pale as he read it. "My dad wants to know why you're asking about campaign finances," he said, trying to sound threatening but achieving only worry. "I haven't asked about anything," Harper said innocently. "I've merely mentioned public records. Is there something in those records that concerns him?" That afternoon, Harper was approached by 3 students she'd noticed during the trash incident. Mia Chen came first, her hands shaking slightly as she spoke. "My mom kept records," she said quietly, before Jordan drove her to quit. Documentation of every incident, every complaint that got buried. She gave them to me before she was hospitalized for anxiety. David Rodriguez was next. "I've been recording everything for 3 years, every bullying incident, every tools to a teacher they've broken. I have it all backed up on multiple servers." Emma Williams could barely speak through her tears. "The photos they spread of my mom weren't even real. They were deep fakes. But by the time anyone figured that out, her reputation was destroyed. "Would you be willing to testify to that?" Harper asked gently. "If there was a safe, legal way to get justice." All three nodded. Harper felt the familiar sensation of a case coming together, pieces sliding into place like a complex puzzle. But she also knew the most dangerous moment in any investigation was when the targets realized the walls were closing in. That moment came in the parking lot after school. Jordan and his full crew surrounded Harper's modest Honda Civic, blocking her exit. Brandon stood at the driver's door, Derek at the passenger side, Ashley filming everything with malicious glee. "You need to leave," Jordan said, his voice low and dangerous. "Tonight. Don't come back, or things will get much worse than a little garbage shower." Harper noticed they were carefully positioned to avoid the parking lot security cameras. They'd done this before, practiced intimidation, leaving no evidence. "Worse than embezzlement?" Harper asked conversationally. "Worse than federal charges for misappropriation of education funds?" Jordan's face went white. "What are you talking about?" Harper pulled out her phone, pretending to check messages. "Oh, nothing specific. Just wondering if your father ever explained where that $2 million athletic center donation really came from. Federal education grants are so particularly about proper usage." "You're lying." But Jordan's voice cracked. "Am I? Ask your father about the invoices for equipment that was never purchased. Ask about the teachers who were paid consulting fees for silence. Ask about the scholarship funds that mysteriously decreased, while administrative costs increased by the exact same amount." Harper's laptop was open on her car's dashboard, displaying her legal research platform. This premium litigation software that major law firms paid thousands monthly to access was compiling data in real time. The AI-powered system instantly cross-referenced federal education fraud statutes, RICO applications, and whistleblower protections, transforming 3 years of Westfield's financial documents into a blueprint for criminal prosecution. The screen showed connections between donations, expenditures, and suspicious transfers that would make any U.S. attorney salivate for the case. "You're crazy," Ashley said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Jordan's family owns this town." "Ownership is such an interesting concept," Harper mused. "Your father thinks he owns this school, Jordan, but federal oversight has a way of changing ownership structures, especially when fraud is involved." Brandon stepped forward aggressively, but Harper held up her hand. "I wouldn't, Mr. Torres. Assault in a parking lot, with multiple witnesses, and my car's dash cam recording your basketball scholarship to Duke might have opinions about criminal records." She'd done her homework on each of them, known their pressure points, their dreams, their vulnerabilities, just as they'd researched their victims before destroying them. "You don't know who you're messing with," Jordan said, but for the first time since Harper had arrived at Westfield, he sounded afraid. Harper's phone rang at that moment, the caller ID showing a blocked number. She answered it on speaker, deliberately. "Special Agent Chen, yes. This is former analyst Harper." Jordan's crew froze. The Whitmore evidence is more extensive than anticipated. 3.8 million in diverted federal education grants. Jordan stumbled backward, his face draining of all color. Harper continued her conversation as if she were discussing the weather. "Yes? The financial forensics team should focus on the athletic center donations. The paper trail leads directly to municipal accounts." "Your FBI." Derek's phone slipped from his shaking hands. "Former," Harper corrected. "I resigned to pursue teaching, but once you're trained to spot financial crimes, you never really stop seeing them, especially when they're this obvious." Ashley was backing away slowly, but Harper's voice stopped her. "Miss Pemberton, your father's construction company won several no-bid contracts for school renovations. Didn't they? Interesting how those projects always came in exactly at budget with no receipts for materials." The sound of engines interrupted them. Not the black SUVs of movies, but unmarked sedans that screamed federal government. Harper checked her watch. "Right on time. Your father's campaign event should be wrapping up now." "Jordan, the arrest will make the 6 o'clock news." "Arrest?" Jordan's voice cracked like a child's. Harper's expression softened slightly. "Did you really think you were untouchable? Your father used this school as his personal piggy bank, and he used you as his enforcer to keep teachers too terrified to look at the books." She pulled out a tablet, showing spreadsheet after spreadsheet of evidence. "Every cruel act you recorded, Derek digital footprint. Every teacher you three drove away paper trail of settlements and hush money. Mrs. Chen's breakdown documented medical leave paid for by diverted mental health funds. Mr. Rodriguez's drug frame-up. The dealer you used kept texts about who paid him." Jordan's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the asphalt, his designer jeans scraping against the ground. "My father said, he said I was untouchable, that our family was above consequences. Nobody's above federal law," Harper said quietly. "Especially not when they steal from children's education funds." 3 black sedans pulled into the parking lot. Federal agents emerged, their movements practiced and efficient. Harper nodded to the lead agent, a tall woman with steel-gray hair. "Agent Martinez, the subjects are all here." "Thank you, Ms. Harper. Excellent work as always." Agent Martinez turned to the students. "Jordan Whitmore, you're being detained for questioning regarding conspiracy to commit fraud and witness intimidation." "I'm 18, Jordan whispered. "These are adult charges." "Yes," Harper confirmed. "Your father made sure you turned 18 before escalating the bullying. He needed an adult to take the fall if things went wrong. You've been his insurance policy." The truth hit Jordan like a physical blow. His father hadn't been protecting him. He'd been positioning him as a potential scapegoat. Every encouragement to terrorize teachers, every assurance of immunity had been calculated. "No," Jordan's voice broke completely. "He wouldn't. I'm his son." Harper knelt beside him, her voice almost gentle. "Check your trust fund, Jordan. I bet it's been steadily drained over the past 3 years. Check which accounts those mysterious transfers went to." Jordan pulled out his phone with shaking hands, accessing his banking app. The color that remained in his face vanished entirely. It's almost empty. $3 million. Gone. Transferred to offshore accounts in increments small enough to avoid federal reporting," Harper observed. "Your name on every transaction. If the investigation had gone differently, if I hadn't found the source documents, you would have been the only one with a clear financial motive." That's when Jordan Whitmore, the terror of Westfield Prep, the untouchable senior who had destroyed 3 teachers' careers, began to cry. Not the manipulative tears of a caught bully, but the broken sobs of a young man realizing his entire life had been a lie. "He used me," Jordan wept. "My own father used me." Brandon and Derek were being questioned by other agents, their phones confiscated as evidence. Ashley had already given up, showing agents every video, every text, every piece of digital evidence that she thought might buy her leniency. Principal Morrison arrived in the back of another federal vehicle, his hands cuffed behind his back. Mayor Whitmore's arrest at his campaign event was being live-streamed by local news. His confident smile morphing into shock as agents read him his rights in front of a crowd of supporters. Harper stood up, brushing dust from her knees. Around them, students had gathered, filming everything, but now their cameras weren't capturing cruelty. They were documenting justice. Mia Chen stepped forward. "For my mother," she said simply, handing Harper a flash drive. Everything she documented. David Rodriguez added his own drive. 3 years of evidence. Every incident. Every cover-up. Emma Williams was crying, but they were tears of relief. Will this fix things? Will teachers be safe now? Harper looked around at the gathered students, at the federal agents processing evidence, at Jordan still sobbing on the ground. This is just the beginning. Westfield was one school in one district. The investigation is expanding. Agent Martinez approached. "Ms. Harper, headquarters wants to know if you'll consider returning to active duty." This operation exceeded all expectations. Harper shook her head. "No, I'm done with fieldwork. This was my last case." She looked at the students. "I really do want to teach, just at a school where I don't have to investigate my principal." As the agents led Jordan away, he turned back one last time. "Ms. Harper, I'm sorry for everything." "I know," she replied. "Your testimony will help. Do the right thing now. Jordan, it's not too late to choose a different path." The parking lot slowly emptied as evidence was collected. Suspects were transported, and witnesses gave statements. Harper finally got into her Honda Civic, exhausted but satisfied. 3 years of investigation, 6 months of undercover work, all leading to this moment. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unlisted number. "Congratulations on Westfield. Ready for your next assignment?" Harper deleted the message, then paused. Another text arrived. "Check the Boston Globe tomorrow. Prestigious academy. Similar patterns." She looked at the message for a long moment. Around the country, how many schools operated like Westfield? How many students suffered while administrators looked the other way for a price? Harper started her car and drove away from Westfield Prep for the last time. In her rearview mirror, she saw federal agents still processing the scene, students still recording, the empire of corruption finally crumbling. The next morning, the Boston Globe's headline read, "Elite Prep School Under Investigation for Financial Irregularities." The article mentioned new faculty hires, including a young literature teacher with an impressive but sparse resume, in a coffee shop 300 miles away. A woman with red hair and green eyes read the article carefully. She looked nothing like Evelyn Harper, but her eyes held the same steady determination. She folded the newspaper, paid for her coffee, and walked toward a prestigious academy where students had been reporting unusual patterns of bullying and administrative indifference. At her job interview that afternoon, the principal commented on her qualifications. "You seem overqualified for a teaching position." The woman smiled. "I just want to make a difference. One classroom at a time." As she left the interview, her phone buzzed. A message from Evelyn Harper. "They hired you, starting Monday," she replied. The substitute teacher network was real. The investigations would continue. And somewhere, a bully was about to learn that actions have consequences. In every school, in every district where power corrupted and children suffered. They were watching. They were documenting. They were teaching. Because every school thinks they're untouchable. They believe their donors' money builds walls too high for justice to climb. They assume their reputation creates armor too thick for truth to penetrate. They count on fear to silence victims and power to erase evidence. But they never account for the substitute teachers walking through their doors, carrying more than lesson plans. They never suspect that sometimes the smallest person in the hallway holds the most dangerous weapon of all, the truth, until they aren't untouchable anymore. Class was now in session.